Good day, everybody. It's Andrew here, and welcome back to my channel. We have a huge update on President Biden's plan for the next stimulus package, including an update on the $1,400 stimulus check for seniors. So let's discuss the details, but before we jump into it, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. And as always, do me a huge favor, subscribe to my second channel. The link to that is going to be in the comments of this video. That is the best way you can support my work. So thank you to the 4,000 people who already subscribed. We're going to be launching that channel in about 2 weeks. But with that said, let's jump right into the update. So first, we're going to talk about what's included in this current stimulus package. At this point, you've probably seen the headlines that the stimulus check package was just approved in the House, and now they have to get it fully approved in the Senate as well. Now, this stimulus package is now being called the Build Back Better Act. Previously, it was called the American Families Plan, but either way, this is supposed to be the stimulus check package, which could have direct payments. Now, we know it includes monthly stimulus payments for families, and Bernie Sanders is trying to include a stimulus check for seniors as well. Now, some experts think that President Biden's plan is to see if Bernie Sanders will be able to include the stimulus check for seniors in the Senate, but he's going to have to battle it out with Joe Manchin. See, Joe Manchin wants to take things out of the stimulus package. Joe Manchin wants to take out paid family leave, and he might even want to take out some things that include taxing the rich, but he definitely does not want to add anything in. Now, Bernie Sanders is going to try and add in that stimulus check for seniors. It could be $1,000. That's probably more realistic. Some people think it could be as low as $800. But in any case, he is trying to include the stimulus package in the Build Back Better Act. Now, President Biden's plan, as far as we know, is to try and support Bernie Sanders to get that done. We already know he's endorsed the stimulus check for seniors. He said it makes sense to give seniors a stimulus check to help them cover medical expenses, especially when we all know that President Biden promised to increase Social Security benefits, SSI, and SSDI benefits as well. And I think he knows that we all are waiting for him to fulfill that promise. So one way to kind of take care of seniors in the meantime would be to approve that stimulus check to help people until the permanent Social Security increases were done. Well, President Biden actually acknowledged the stimulus check for seniors, and he said, yes, it makes sense, and they're trying to include it in this package, but it might actually be $800, not $1,000. Well, then we have some groups pushing for $1,400, so we'll have to wait and see what happens. But it seems like currently President Biden's plan is to work with Bernie Sanders to get this stimulus check for seniors included in this package in the Senate. So we'll have to wait and see how that develops. But as for now, let's also talk about his plan for the Build Back Better Act in general. Now, this was approved in the House, so this is the bill as written, approved in the House of Representatives. There's a few things included in this package that do include direct stimulus payments. Of course, they're going to have the monthly stimulus payments for families with kids. That's going to be extended for another year, and it should end up in this package. It's already in the package that's been approved in the House. Now we're going to see if it makes it through the Senate. And again, if we can give monthly stimulus checks to families with kids, why can't we give them to seniors as well? And let me know in the comments if you agree. I mean, it makes total sense. If you're giving monthly checks to families who already work, families who are in the prime of their life, they're in their 30s and their 40s, they can work, they're not disabled, they're getting monthly payments, and that's fine because things are difficult and people with kids do need help, especially more now than ever. But then we have seniors who are promised increased benefits not getting monthly stimulus checks. That doesn't make sense at all. So if we can give monthly checks to families with kids, we should be able to give monthly checks to seniors and to those who are disabled. And let me know in the comments if you agree. We've done the math, and the government can afford it. I mean, if they can afford to spend $1 trillion every year on the military, and they can afford to give trillions in dollars in tax cuts to millionaires and billionaires, they can for sure afford to do monthly stimulus checks for seniors at least for a year until they permanently increase Social Security benefits. And let me know in the comments if you agree, guys. But in the Build Back Better Act, as it was approved in the House, so far this is President Biden's plan. They have allocated $555 billion to fight climate change. This is actually the biggest category in this package. So the biggest sum of money in this bill is set aside for climate-related provisions, which the White House hopes will allow President Biden to deliver on his goal to cut carbon emissions in half by 2030. Now, the bulk of clean energy spending, $320 billion, comes in the form of tax credits for companies and consumers that install solar panels, improve the energy efficiency of buildings, and purchase electric vehicles. So basically, they're going to create a lot of tax cuts for companies and for regular people like you and me to do things like purchase electric vehicles. They included a $12,500 tax credit. That is a huge tax credit, because I mean, if you buy a $30,000 electric car, almost half of it is going to come back to you in the form of a tax credit. That is a huge tax credit included in this package. Now, the next biggest part of this package is $400 billion for universal preschool. I mean, universal preschool is definitely important, but who would have thought it would cost $500 billion? I'm surprised by that number, but it's important. It's been shown that the younger you can start to get children educated, the more likely they are to have a financially stable future, and the less likely they are to live in poverty. So this would help people from the beginning before they are even forced to live in poverty. So that's really, really good. Now, $200 billion for child tax credits. Now, that is the monthly stimulus payments for families we're talking about. Now, the bill is a one-year extension of this monthly child tax credit, which gives $300 per month for families with kids under 6 years old, and $250 for kids who are between 6 and 17 years old. And that would expand it through the end of 2022. So that's $200 billion. And we've done the math. The stimulus check for seniors would cost about $200 billion as well. So again, if they could spend $200 billion on children, they should be able to do it for seniors as well. And look, the universal preschool, that is important. I admit that it's very important. It's really good. We need that in this country. But that is twice as much of what the stimulus checks for seniors would cost. So obviously they can afford it. Then we have $200 billion for 4 weeks of paid family leave. Now, this is going to guarantee when you have a child or when you have an illness, you are guaranteed 4 weeks off to pay for your time off when you're sick or pay for your time off after you have a child. That's $200 billion, which is basically what the stimulus checks for seniors would cost as well. Then they're going to include $165 billion for healthcare spending, which is going to expand the Affordable Care Act and make healthcare more affordable for millions of individuals. Then $150 billion for affordable home care. This is specifically going to help seniors who are on Medicaid and have been on a waiting list to get home healthcare treatment. So that's going to help seniors as well. Then $150 billion for affordable housing, which is going to go a long way in helping create affordable housing for seniors in this country by creating more Section 8 vouchers and building more affordable housing homes. So all of this is going to be paid for by taxing the rich and making sure that the IRS is enforcing tax laws that are currently in place. Of course, we're also hoping that we include that stimulus check for seniors, and that is something that we're waiting to see whether or not it comes to fruition. So with everything going on, this is currently President Biden's plan for the stimulus check package. Then we have Bernie Sanders, who is trying to include the stimulus checks for seniors, and it seems as though President Biden is going to work with Bernie Sanders to try and include the stimulus check for seniors in this stimulus package. Now, currently what's happening is we're wondering how difficult Joe Manchin is going to make things in the Senate to get this fully approved. We're also wondering what Democrats are going to do regarding the fact that they're doing so poorly in the polls. Now, some people think once they approve the stimulus checks, their poll numbers will go up immediately. Others think that Democrats need to change the way they're marketing the stimulus package so Americans can kind of appreciate what's happening. And then there's some people who think that this, quite frankly, is not what the American people want. So let me know in the comments, guys. Do you think President Biden's polls will go up if they approve the stimulus checks? Or do you think this whole stimulus package is completely unaligned with what the American people want? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But in any case, this clip does a really good job kind of giving us an overview of what's going on with the stimulus package, what we expect to happen next in the Senate, and how Democrats are going to address the fact that they're doing so poorly in the polls. So with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching. Let's watch this clip and let me know your thoughts in the comments below.
Now, President Biden spoke by phone with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi today to offer her congratulations. And they also released a statement. The White House released a statement from the president celebrating this win. That statement says, Today, the United States House of Representatives passed the Build Back Better Act to take another giant step forward in carrying out my economic plan to create jobs, reduce costs, make our country more competitive, and give working people and the middle class a fighting chance. The White House hopeful that this bill will make good on some of those campaign promises Biden made back in 2020. But they are also keenly aware of the steep climb that this bill will face up in the Senate, as there are expected to be major changes made to the bill in order to win support from people like Senator Joe Manchin. But today, it's a moment of victory. We will see the president a bit later today for pardoning the turkeys, the annual tradition, and certainly he's likely to comment as well there.
We could bet on that. We could bet on that. Arlette Saenz, thank you. Let's get straight up to Capitol Hill now. CNN congressional correspondent Lauren Fox. Lauren, as Arlette notes, again, the president can see the finish line, but there is still his old haunts, the United States Senate. What's next?
Well, this morning, House leaders really jubilant. The House Speaker really moving around the House floor as this vote was ongoing, knowing that she was going to be secured a victory that for weeks was outside of her grasp. But what we saw this morning was House leaders really doing a victory lap, even while they acknowledge there's more work to do in the Senate.
It's a big win for the people, for the average working men and women of America, for those who struggle every day and hope that somebody is on their side.
What an incredible morning. What an incredible vote. What an incredible time for the American people to be seen and heard.
The Senate will do what it thinks it can do, and we'll come together on behalf of the American people and try to have a coordinated approach as we go off into the future. I don't fear.
But of course, the key question there, what will the Senate do? Specifically, what will Senator Joe Manchin, the moderate, who is much watched from the state of West Virginia, what will he do? He made it clear earlier this week he may be comfortable with the bill coming to the floor of the Senate before the Christmas break, but he hasn't made any assurances that he would be a yes on that piece of legislation. He also has major changes he's going to want to see in this bill. One of them, the fact that this legislation that passed the House today includes paid family leave. That is a policy that Joe Manchin has said he supports, but not using a Democratic-only process like reconciliation. John?
More to come after the Thanksgiving holiday. Lauren Fox, appreciate the live report up on the Hill. And with me in studio on this big day to share their reporting and their insights, CNN's Dana Bash, CNN's Ryan Nobles, and McClatchy's Francesca Chambers. Before we get to the politics, this is both a legacy of the last campaign. It's what the Democrats ran on in 2018 and 2020, and it will be the defining debate of the next campaign as we move forward. So let's just show what's in the House version of this. $273 billion for child care. $205 billion for paid leave. That's a big question mark, as Lauren just noted in the Senate. Universal pre-K, electricity tax credits, home health care help, Obamacare subsidies, and even more. Yes, there's a lot of politics to talk about, but in terms of policy, Dana, the challenge for Democrats now is to tell the American people, look, we're doing what you like. The Republicans have said big spending, you're liberals, you're socialists. If you go through those individual items, most of them are very popular.
That's exactly right. And the challenge that they have is what people, if they've been tuning in, they've heard is Democrats fighting one another, reconciliation. What does that mean? To me, they have no idea. Trillions of dollars and the fight over the price tag, not the specifics. And that is because of the nature of the sausage being made. I cannot tell you how many Democrats I've spoken to, I'm sure you have as well, on Capitol Hill, who have said explicitly, we need to do better about messaging, which is going to be the whole ball game over the next few weeks. They're going to be home for Thanksgiving break. They're going to be doing whatever it takes to explain the things that are in this bill that really will affect their lives. And the question is whether or not it's too late, because Republicans have already tried to, and in some ways successfully, defined it as a big liberal spending bill. I talked to some moderate Democrats. Actually, I went with Josh Gottheimer back home to New Jersey, and he insists it's not, because there are some things in there, like the Northeastern Democrats especially, they can say, we're going to lower your taxes if that goes through.
Well, that's one of the big debates as we move forward to the Senate. The one House Democrat who voted no, Jared Golden of Maine, he tends to be a more conservative or centrist Democrat anyway. He says he doesn't like this state and local tax deduction that was wiped out in the Trump tax cuts. That, you know, if you live in a state with high taxes, you get to deduct some of that from your federal tax return. That is a huge issue for Bernie Sanders when we get over to the Senate. He says, why are we giving tax breaks to wealthy Americans? Is that one of the things likely to be changed?
Well, what I thought was interesting was Sanders' first response to the passage of the Build Back Better bill. He said that he welcomed it, but that the Senate was going to strengthen the bill. So what define strengthen? For Bernie Sanders, it would be getting rid of the SALT deduction because he believes that it benefits the 1%, as he describes it. But I do think that what you've seen from Sanders here is a different posture in his position than the majority of his career in the Senate. In the past, he's been the guy that's like the purist. I only want this if it's the most progressive policy ever. But here we see a man in the sunset of his career, the head of the Budget Committee, the Sherpa, if you will, of this bill in the Senate. He wants to get something done. So will he concede on something like this? Because at the end of the day, he sees $1.9 trillion in spending for a lot of issues that he's cared about over the bulk of his career. He's already made a lot of concessions. But I think at the end of the day, he's probably willing to come to the table and allow something like this.
And I think part of that, and then the question becomes, if the progressives like Sanders are willing to do that, what about Sinema and Manchin on the centrist side? If you talk to them, they more and more are there. They may not be completely there yet, but they understand in the next campaign, Republicans are going to be just like this. This is the House Republican leader, Kevin McCarthy. No matter what the Democrats do, if this bill passes or if this bill collapses, Republicans are going to say this.
Speaker Pelosi has crammed even more radical policies into a partisan bill that costs trillions in dollars we don't have, for government-run programs that nobody wants. What we have before us isn't a social spending bill. It's a pathway to socialism.
Now, it's not a pathway to socialism. It simply is not. And a lot of it is popular, but that's the Republican framing of the campaign, which is why Nancy Pelosi says, actually, if we pass this bill, we can go to the American people and say this.
We have the Build Back Better bill that is historic, transformative, and larger than anything we have ever done before. If you are a parent, a senior, a child, a worker, if you are an American, this bill's for you, and it is better.
And that's the president's challenge now on the Senate side, to tell Democrats, look, we need to campaign on this. If we don't have this to campaign on, we're done.
And two key policy changes that we've touched on here. Look, unpaid family and medical leave, advocates are arguing that it's very popular and it should be included. But Senator Manchin does not believe that this bill is the place for paid family leave. He hasn't changed his position on that and continues to believe that it could get bipartisan support potentially as a standalone bill at some point in the future. When you talk about the state and local tax deduction and compromises that could be made on that, one pathway forward that's being talked about is having anyone who makes under $400,000 a year, lifting the cap on that for them. The White House, where are they at on this? They're a little agnostic, to be honest. They've been saying that this isn't something that the president ever wanted in the first place, but understands that in order to get this bill passed, that might need to be what's in a final version of the bill. So can they come together around something like that? $400,000 obviously being the number that the president has typically put forward as well.
Right, the new Fox News poll accentuates the challenge for the Democrats to get this done and then try to tell people that it looks, this is good for you. Is the Biden administration focused on the right issues or the wrong things? 54% right now say the wrong things. 40% say the right issues. The challenge for the president is to sign this and then to be able to go out and campaign and say, actually, free pre-K, expanded child care options, landmark investments in climates, that's the right thing.
That's it. It's all about communications. It's all about messaging right now.